Hello, I'm hoping to make a series of videos here that would help initiate a new employee into our system of how we do things here at Hulsey Engineering. So without ado, this video will be to show a new employee or to make a review of our filing system. It's kind of a mundane topic, but it's important because um, we are an electronic office. We don't file on paper anymore. We try not to. And we do use Dropbox as our vehicle to keep these. And that way we can have people working all over and have access to these. But it's important that everyone be on the same page, that we file things correctly, and that we don't misfile them, as well as we be consistent. We have to be consistent with our filing system because we need to be able to go back a year, 5 years later, and be able to look quickly into our filing system and be able to find something. So um, that's this document is you can review this yourself. Make this available to new employees. But it explains our filing system in written. But I was going to go through this video also. So just read through this first part. Most of you, when we start a new job, we call a project a job. If you haven't figured that out yet, some offices will call it a project, but we've just always gotten the habit of calling it a job. When we start anew, you'll be shared into 3 folders, and if you're not familiar, when you accept a share into Dropbox, it'll keep a copy of the active files both on your hard drive locally, and it will keep a copy on the server. And as we work through there, it will update. Dropbox compares the date, and it will overwrite a file last. And if there's multiple people that have it open, it'll create like Clint's copy, for instance. If I came in after another person had it open, we had them open simultaneously. So when we start a job, the first thing you're going to get is a share of 3 folders. You're going to get a collaboration folder, a design team folder. Let me see if I can figure out how to use this. Yeah, collaboration folder, a design team folder, an issue folder. Each one of these has a purpose, and it seems like a complexity to have 3 folders per job, and it is, but there is a method to our madness. The reason we do this is because Dropbox only allows their share structure. Once you share a file, everything under that file has the same share structure as the one that you shared. For instance, if I share a collaboration folder, and it would be read-write only for certain folks, then they would have read-write only for everything downstream of this collaboration folder. So I brought in an example project here. When we do share the collaboration folder, I stripped the job number off of it because we normally share these with people outside of our office. And the collaboration folder is intended for other design professionals, for things that we might share or receive in from other design professionals. And it's really anything we want to post here that we want to make available to outside people. But the key thing is here, like if I share this folder to an architect or to a structural engineer, they have the ability to read write, so they can also post items here. And I kind of started doing this because I wanted outside team members to be able to post things like photographs or post their drawings, but I didn't want to give them access to our design team folder. And that brings us to the design team folder. I do want to point out the way we file things: the job number, a common name, and then design team. So here's our example here. And the design team is intended for just what it says, the design team that are people that are actively involved in editing our drawings. Perspective, the Hulsey Engineering team, whatever drawings that we're in charge of editing or keeping or saving, this is what we'd have here. So under here, we have a standard architectural civil correspondence, MEP notes, photos, structural and surveyor. These were all started typically with our job seed, and you'll see them come in automatically populated. And in this particular instance, we had another folder, a subfolder here created with some information from another aspect. So I'm not even sure why we did this, but sometimes if we get as-built drawings previous, but it's the building that we're working on, but from previous construction, we might create a subfolder here and put it here. It just makes it available to the entire team. So architectural, we normally receive incoming architectural, and we want to maintain the date and what it was, and typically I like to say who it came from. So like updated RCP from this fellow here. We keep a running record of what we received and when we received it. And same thing with civil. Sometimes we are the acting civil engineer, and sometimes there's an outside civil engineer involved. Correspondence, it's probably one of the more confusing, and it gets a little crowded. Any items coming in outside of the office, instructions that come in, particular things that we send out to the client, like questions, we want to keep here. Any inter-office correspondence between a designer and a draftsman, or two designers that are inside the office of Hulsey Engineering, we normally do not keep that information here, unless I believe it's something important that we record. So here we have the date, 50% review comments, and we kept an email here of comments from the 50% review. So that's good information to know, and good information to keep a permanent record of as the job folder. E is our normal, what we're providing for a job. So you'll see it gets the most crowded. And it is important to note here that on the root of MEP, these are our active drawings, and I call them live drawings or working drawings. You get ready to work on a drawing, you look at the root of that folder. So if you're working on an MEP drawing, for instance, you pick up and pull up this most active sheet to work on. You wouldn't want to work on an old sheet, a voided sheet, or something out of the ordinary. And here's what it does when two people have had the drawing open at the same time. So it doesn't really lose the information, but it does create a hassle, because we've got to go through and see if anything was edited or changed at this particular instance that should be added to the original. Generally speaking, I don't like for these to be clogging up our root, so I need help in keeping these. So what I do, I just cut, instead of deleting those, I put them over here in a voided folder. Let's clean up the root here. So just and it's conversely the same. If we're the civil engineer, then on the root of civil, you'd find the active working drawings at that time. If we do get through a particular phase of a project and you want to keep a copy of where we are at a particular time, so you wanted to keep a copy of the MEP drawings as they were at 75%, you could create a subfolder here and keep them there. And feel free to do that. It's kind of a way of backing up. It's also a way of referencing things if anything changes. Notes, these are things that are inter-office items, and it's really just for us to keep notes specific to the job that we wouldn't keep them in correspondence because of something created in our office, but it's things that we want to maintain in the job folder, and this is a place to put it just when there's no other place. Let me back up to MEP and show you some more of the subfolders here. It's important. Under equipment is a big one, you'll find. It's broken down HVAC, lights, plumbing, power, special systems. And it's even further broken down by lights. You'll see lights as specified by us. And what we want is on the root of here, we want to see the light fixture cut sheets that are there. And these actually do eventually get issued to the client so they can see. And it's similar for the different trades specified by us. So this would be what we specify. Then oftentimes, as the job progresses, we get shop drawings in from the contractor, and they are freely allowed to use items that we do not specify. So this project is not in construction yet, but so as the project goes on, they might decide to use a different plumbing fixtures, and they're allowed to do that. So they would submit to us. We would review it. When we pull it in from the contractor, it goes from here. As we review it and note it and put it back out to them, it goes reviewed by engineer. So again, if they submit something other than we have specified, they should submit shop drawings to us, which would come in here by date. And as we review those with notes and put them back out in the field, it would go under reviewed by engineer. And the whole purpose of this, so we can go back and find what should have been installed, what was accepted to be installed, and any notes that we had that we corrected. Also, under the MEP are calculations, so load calculations, spreadsheet calculations, things of that nature, specs, self-explanatory. These are separate folders that were created later, and then the void folder was created later. Photos, just what that means. There's nothing here, but if we go out to an existing project and we take a lot of photos, we would put them in by date here, or as the project goes along with construction, we take photos during the construction process and we put a date, and then we made the site visit. Structural, same thing as architectural. If we receive structural drawings in from the structural person, they are placed here by the date. And usually there is a structural engineer working on the jobs, and they'll receive project updates as we go. Surveyor, same thing. As we receive different survey backgrounds, we might receive a boundary survey, we might receive topo survey, and it would all go in here by date and placed under this folder. Brings us up to the issued folder. So the purpose of this is to give access to outside people and predominantly give them access in a read-only format. So we might give our clients, or we might give various construction team people access to this folder. And what we would have is a running history of everything that's put out by our office, meaning Hulsey Engineering. We have a running record of that in the issued folder. So, the date, what it was issued for, not for construction. This was issued, was revised, issued for bidding and pricing, not for construction. And actually, this project is still under review at the city. Eventually, there would be one here with the date and say issued for construction. And then as the job progresses, if there are addendums or revisions, then they continue to be placed under the issued folder. That way we have a running record of what there is there. This is records that have officially been gone out of our office. Now, Something very important on this folder, we do share this folder with outside people. So this issued folder, we could have shared it with an electrician or HVAC contractor, for instance. And the minute we place something here, it's fair game. They're allowed to take it off and assume that it was correct when it was posted there. So we've got to be very careful and not post things there that are not ready for the public to see, because you have to assume that the issued folder has already been shared with members of the public. And so we just don't want to willy-nilly place items in the issued folder. So usually it's only allow access to read and write from senior designers. All the design team can access this issued folder in a read-only format. But this is why we do this, because we have to assume that it's already been shared. We don't want to just haphazardly place things there. If you do forget as you go through, if you don't have access to this, or if you just don't have it in front of you and you forget how to file something, we have a README blurb here that tells us just a little quick thing about how to save and what each folder is for. So those are the three folders that you're going to be issued when a job starts. Then on your own system, you would create, what I do on mine is I keep a current jobs Dropbox, and then I create a job folder that I put all the subfolders under. So for instance, here's my current jobs. Here's all the things that we're currently working on. Here's the Hope Clinic I've been showing you. Now this subfolder here, Hope Clinic, is not really shared to anyone. That is just on my system that I created. Then under there, I place the three shared folders that I've shared out to everyone. And this would be what I would recommend that you do. Keep a current jobs, and then under current jobs, keep a folder for the job name and number to place the folders that are shared with you. Helps keep a little bit of sanity there. All right, quickly move on. References. This is for items that are created outside of the office, and an easy way to remember this is usually it's design items or code items that Hulsey Engineering did not create, that we are not in charge of editing, but it's information that's pertinent to us that we might want to keep track of. So just, for instance, under engineering electrical items, you'll find code things, different subjects like arc flash, and an example of a calculation for arc flash. So those are things that are outside the office, not created by us. Standards directory is almost in some ways similar to the reference folder, but the standards subfolder are things that we edit in Office. So if we're going to keep a detail of, say, in plumbing, we created this detail, this filter detail, then we're in charge of editing that, right? So we have a place to keep it here. It's a plumbing detail, so it goes under standards and under engineering plumbing. Same way with all of these. These are, and this is obviously all the time, these details are works in progress. So if you're in charge of editing a detail, you can save it into here in these proper locations. If you're working in Office in Hulsey Engineering, you'll be issued a personal company Dropbox. Just keep in mind it's not really personal. In fact, that the senior staff here will be able to see what's in there. It's really just official things like timesheets and items that you may not have a place for that we want to see. So if you're working here in the office, put your timesheets here, and we can go in and view those and see what you've got going on. So feel free to pause this and read through here so you understand. You got something out of this.